Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Colin Mahan, and I'm a program manager here at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. For those of you who may not know, the NASDAQ Center is a nonprofit dedicated to enabling entrepreneurs from all over the world to realize their maximum potentials and grow. Quick heads up, we'll be opening up for live Q&A at the end of the event, so please submit your questions in the Q&A function and your comments into the comment stream at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. None of what we do could be possible without all the amazing support from our sponsors, including NASDAQ, Lehigh University, Bank of the West, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Woodruff Sawyer, BPM, NZTE, and Microsoft for Startups. We are humbled by their contributions. During these unique times, we're curious how sentiment is among the entrepreneurs we work with. So we're going to start by taking a poll to let us know how you're feeling about your business right now. So I'm going to launch that. Let us know how you're doing. 2020 has been a year, hasn't it? All right, responses are coming in. Looks like we've got almost a tie between surviving and optimistic. All right, looks like we got a decent amount of votes, so I'm gonna share those results. So surviving and optimistic up second. So 2020 continues to be a challenging year. Up next, something that helps us design our curriculum here at the NASDAQ Center is what's keeping you up at night? Finance, sales, marketing, scaling, pivoting, team, or just surviving? So plop those answers into the poll and we'll get started in a moment. All right, coming in. Thank you for your responses. All right, I'm gonna end this in a moment, but I'm gonna let the last couple trickle in. All right, I'm gonna share those results. So it looks like sales and marketing are our top two. Considering those poll results, I believe all of you are in the right place today. Our special guest today is Cliff Worley, the Senior Director of Portfolio Growth at Kapor Capital, and has been contributing to the Center Advisory Board since our launch in 2015. At Kapor Capital, Cliff supports over 130 plus portfolio companies in all aspects of digital growth and marketing strategies. After graduating from Babson College, Cliff was offered a Chief Digital Officer position at the Shark Group, a branding consultancy firm created by renowned entrepreneur Daymond John. At the Shark Group, Cliff set the digital strategy for Daymond John and worked as a digital strategy consultant for all of his Shark Tank investments. Cliff, we're super stoked to have you back. So welcome, and over to you.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Let me know if you guys can see it. Type in the chat if you can see my screen. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your schedule today to attend this webinar on top startup marketing tools to attract customers. Seems like some of you guys are coming from overseas, the East Coast. I see a whole bunch of people, LA. Welcome. Thank you. Special thank you to the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center for hosting me today. I've got a lot of tools to talk about, so we're going to move pretty quickly. The good news is that I have a list of all the tools that you can have at the very end of the webinar. So if you stay on, you'll get a list of those tools. One thing I have to mention is that this deck is going to self-destruct within 6 months. And what I mean by that is a lot of these tools that I show you may not be around in 6 months. And there's been many times where I've waited and said, oh yeah, that's a pretty cool tool. I'll check it out at some point. And then all of a sudden, you know, the tool goes out of business or, you know, social media companies change their policies. So I definitely recommend that you take advantage of these tools as quick as possible. So real quick on the agenda, I'll just kind of tell you guys about my personal journey, how I've got to this position, give you some general marketing tips, and then share with you my favorite growth hacking tools. And then at the end, like Colin said, we'll have 15 minutes of Q&A. So I think I've got like 40 tools, so I'll try to move as quick as I can. So a little bit about me, born and raised in Oakland, California. I am a huge Golden State Warriors fan. As a lot of people know, I'm very sad about the Lakers taking the championship this year, but good on them, good on LeBron. That was special for Kobe, right? Also went to UC Berkeley for undergrad. Worked in Silicon Valley for about 10 years, and to be honest, I hated my job, and so I quit and I went to business school at Babson out in Boston. While I was at Babson, I met Daymond John from ABC Shark Tank. Now, he taught a class there randomly on vetting Shark Tank deals and developing go-to-market strategies. So I took the class and basically stalked him for a job. I went to his office after I graduated, and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm looking for a job." He said, "I'm not hiring." I said, "Okay, cool. I'll be back tomorrow." And probably on the third try, he said, "Welcome to the team." So persistence is key. So I ran marketing for Daymond John for 4 years and helped him with some of his marketing strategy, and then also marketing strategy for some of the Shark Tank companies as well that he invested in. And then moved over to the Kapor Center out in Oakland. Shout out to all the Kapor Center staff that are on the call today. Also joined the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center in 2016, where I'm on the Young Advisory Board. And I have a special story about how I even found out about the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center using one of these marketing tools that I'm going to share with you. And now I'm the Senior Director of Portfolio Growth Marketing at Kapor Capital, where I advise 130 plus companies on marketing. So excited to be with you guys today. All right, so first I want to launch a poll. I want to ask you guys, what social media channels do you use for your business, and select all that apply. Now, I'm going to guess, I've done this presentation a few times, so I don't know if it's going to change, but I think Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter would be the top ones. Maybe YouTube. Things have changed, and I always am surprised about TikTok, but most people aren't using TikTok, so we'll see if that has changed. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I would say, or maybe Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I think are going to be top 3. So we'll wait for the results to come in. And here they are. Let's see, we've got LinkedIn number 1. Wow. Okay, so that's changed. Facebook number 2, Instagram number 3, Twitter number 4, YouTube number 5. All right, so TikTok has actually gone up a little bit. That's good. Nobody's using Snapchat. Okay, that's fine. All right, so the good thing is we're going to cover a lot of these tools in this presentation, so stay tuned. So one of the first questions I always get is like, Cliff, what platform should I be on? And you ready for the answer? The answer is, it depends, right? There are a lot of different social media platforms that you can be on. My best advice is to pick the social media platform where you know your customer is on. So for example, if you're selling a product that is for college students, I would focus on TikTok or Snapchat because that's where that demographic is. So you just want to make sure that because it's a lot, to be honest, it is a lot to manage one social media platform. So just take your time in focusing on one, but focus on the one where your customer is. Now, I love this video. This is a good example of our social media strategy. I'm sure some of you guys can relate to this. Type in the chat if you can relate to this, where you're just posting content. You don't know what you're doing. You're sending it out there. You're hoping that some of your customers will see it. They'll catch it. They'll buy your product. And the bad news is that this dog never catches this Frisbee. And so we got to make sure that we take our social media strategy serious. And I'm going to give you guys some strategies on how to make sure that this dog catches this Frisbee. So first, I want to give you some general social media marketing tips. So number 1, you cannot deposit views, likes, or shares into your bank account. So beware of vanity metrics. And what I mean by this is, don't focus on, trying to have, 100,000 followers, 20,000 followers, 10,000 followers. What you really want to focus on is developing really good content and developing some sort of relationship with the people that do follow you. What I mean by that is, like, you can have 100,000 followers and nobody's buying your products, or you can have 500 followers, but 400 of those followers are buying your products because you've developed this one-on-one relationship with them. So just keep that in mind. Another tip, especially when you're starting out, let's say, you're a shoe brand and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I don't have a budget, but how do I, get the attention of people that like athletic shoes? And let's say maybe your competitor is like a Nike. Well, Nike basically is spending millions of dollars a month to develop audiences and grow their audiences in the athletic shoe space. And so if you have an athletic shoe and you don't have $1 million, you can pretty much tap into the Nike audience and just go to their accounts, look at their followers, click on their followers and say, hey, I'm a new shoe brand. I'd love to get your feedback on my product. And most people will respond. And so a lot of these audiences are already out there. So I call them social media watering holes, where you can go in and tap into audiences that a lot of big corporations have already built to start finding a little bit more information about your customer and getting feedback on your product. And it's really important in the beginning. Next, I want to show you my social media growth formula. I created this a few years back and it's still relevant today. And it basically comes down to, you need to have great content. You need to have targeted outreach, which I'll cover in a later slide. You need to make sure that you engage with your community, and you need to measure the activity that's going on in your account. And if you do this over time, you will grow. So people always come to me and they say, my account's not growing. I'm not really getting followers. And I look at their accounts and their content is terrible. And so you really want to focus on creating clean and valuable content. And I'll show you a little bit later on some of the tools you can use to create this content. Next is targeted outreach, which is basically, you can't wait for people to come to your account. You have to go out and engage with them. And I'll show you some tools later on how you do that. So once you have great content and you start reaching out to people, what's going to happen is people are going to start commenting, they're going to start liking, they're going to start sending you messages on your social media accounts. And you want to respond and engage with those people, because otherwise they'll just go to someone else's account. And then at the end of the day, you want to measure your content. You want to figure out whether or not the videos you're posting are working. You want to figure out if the photos are working, like should you be posting photos or video? How long should the videos be? Which video got more engagement than others? How many comments were on certain posts? So you kind of need to look at that on a weekly basis and then adjust your strategy every single week until you find the right flow. And if you do this, you'll continue to grow. I've got a lot of tools to show you how to manage this process. So with targeted outreach, I like to give this example of, let's say you're at a party and your goal is to get as many business cards as possible. Now, one option is you could sit in the back of the room and wait for people to come by you, and then you ask them for your business card. Or you can proactively go up to people and ask them for their business card and their information. And the same rule applies to social media. You have to jump into different conversations with your customers to actually get attention. If you're not going to run ads, running ads is basically going to force that information to them. But if you don't have an ad budget, just manually going out and outreaching to people is a good way to get attention to your product. And I'll show you how you can scale this a little bit later. All right, so now here we go into the favorite marketing tools. So here's the first thing. I want to tell you a little bit about digital marketing. Digital marketing is complicated. There are over 7,000 tools. And I know it gets frustrating because it's always like, which tools are the ones that we should use? I haven't used all of these, but I definitely know some in each of these categories that I'm going to share with you later on kind of how to get started. I've vetted a lot of different tools, so we'll share those. So one of the things about digital marketing, I really break this down into 8 core disciplines. So the first one is conversion funnels, and that's basically like driving awareness to your product all the way to the purchase point, right? So there is a funnel, there is a process that happens, and you have to figure out, how do I get somebody to find out about my product? And then all the way, how do I get them to buy? And then how do I get them to buy it again? That's called your conversion funnel. So you've got to focus on that. Then there's content marketing. That might be like free PDFs, ebooks, videos, webinars. Then there's paid traffic. So that's you running ads. That's like Facebook, Instagram, Google AdWords. Then there's email marketing and social media marketing, right? Where that's all the channels that you're on posting content. Then there's SEO, which is search marketing. And then there's data and analysis. You've got to analyze all this stuff. What content's working, which ads are working, right? And then testing and optimization. And that is basically taking the time to really do A/B testing on your website, your emails, should I use this headline versus this headline, or should I use this color versus that color? Now, the good news is there is a company out there that you can learn how to do each of these, and it's called Digital Marketer. they have certifications that you can get in each of these areas. And as like a CEO of a company, I would recommend going through all of these, because at some point you're going to bring on a marketing hire and you want to have some knowledge in this. So that way, when you are interviewing, you know whether or not that person could be good. So definitely check them out. I think they're about $100 per certification. Pricing might have changed, but it's an easy way to just learn the basics of each of these functions in marketing. All right, so one of the first things you want to make your life easy is get a social media scheduler. So there are a bunch of different social media schedulers out there. If you're just starting out, Buffer, Hootsuite are good options, very cheap options where basically you can post to multiple social media channels at one time. Sprout Social is kind of more advanced. You know, it's an advanced platform, but really, really powerful. I highly recommend it. We use that at the Kapor Center. And then another favorite platform I have, if you want to really truly automate stuff, I would look at Meet Edgar. So the cool thing about Meet Edgar, let's say you have like 100 blog posts, you put those into Meet Edgar and you schedule them out. I say like I want one blog post to go out per week. It will launch each of those blog posts once per week. And once it gets down to that 100, so you've gone through 100 weeks, it will start at the beginning. So it's like a full way to just automate your social media. I remember I was out one day and this guy said, "Oh man, Cliff, that blog post you posted yesterday was really, really good." I honestly had no idea what he was talking about because I was using Meet Edgar and it was just scheduling out the post for me. All right, so Instagram, I know a lot of you guys are Instagram fans and use Instagram, so let's talk about some of those tools. One of my favorite tools for Instagram to just make it easier to manage is called Later. Later is pretty much a scheduling software for Instagram. You can post, you know, your videos. You can even schedule stories. It has kind of like a hashtag selector, so you can suggestions, so you can select, you know, different hashtags. But it's a very easy platform to use. I think it's about $20 a month, where you can just schedule out all of your Instagram content to just make your life easier. If you guys are terrible graphic designers like myself, there is an app called Mojo where you can basically create these great Instagram stories. It's a free app, highly recommended if you want to take your Instagram stories to the next level. If you're doing marketing on Instagram, there's a new company called Direct Heroes where they do direct message marketing. And this basically means is that you can mass message people who opt into a campaign on Instagram, right? So you'll give somebody a link, they'll come into your campaign, you can build out this automated experience. Think about it as more like a chatbot kind of experience, but through Instagram. Brand new company doing some really, really cool stuff. So if you do Instagram marketing, definitely check them out. So with all of these different social media platforms, I'm going to give you guys the secrets behind this. They don't really put this information public, but I'm going to tell you guys, I found this out through doing a whole bunch of research. But did you guys know that you can follow 500 people per day on Instagram? You can like 800 photos per day on Instagram, and you can comment 250 times on Instagram. Now, you might be like, okay, Cliff, well, that's great, but I don't have the time to do that. And don't worry, there are softwares out there that will do that for you. So Kicksta, for example, they just do likes, but you can tell them, you know, I want to like all the Shark Tank photos on the Shark Tank hashtag, and they'll do that for you. And they basically do it within the limits of, you know, of what Instagram puts out there, so you never get your account banned. One of the cool things about how I found out about the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center is I did do that. I used Kicksta a couple years back to just basically like Shark Tank photos. And a Shark Tank casting call director, I ended up liking one of his photos, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, you know, I'd love for you to come check out one of our casting calls. It's at NASDAQ's Entrepreneurship Center in San Francisco." I went there, developed a relationship with the NASDAQ team there, and then now I'm on the board. And that all came from a like on Instagram with the software Kicksta. Another cool software for Instagram is called Meta Hashtags. If you want data around which hashtags you should use, because, you know, some hashtags have, you know, a million different photos on there, but you might want to get something in the 200,000 range where there's only, you know, your photo has a good chance of being seen. Definitely use this software to do that. Instagram Reels. Okay, so remember when Instagram copied Snapchat and they created Instagram stories, and it was very like bold and blunt. Well, now Instagram Stories is like the most used feature on Instagram. Well, I'm sure you guys have heard of TikTok. Instagram pretty much just copied what TikTok was doing with this feature called Reels. You can create these creative videos. Now, if I was starting fresh on Instagram, I would put a lot of investment and time into creating Reels, because with any social media platform, when they launch new features, they will heavily promote it, right? And so you want to get in early when nobody else is doing this, because everybody will always see your Reels. And I'm sure some of you are probably doing Reels, but a lot of you probably aren't. But I would highly recommend looking into this if you haven't already. All right, let's get into graphic design. Now, I am terrible at graphic design, like really, 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 really bad. And so what I do is I use a software called Design Pickle. What Design Pickle is it's basically, I think it's about $400 a month, and you basically get unlimited graphic designs. And what that basically means is unlimited revisions. So you get 2 graphic designs per day, Monday through Friday. The cool thing is you submit your graphic design by 5 p.m. Pacific, and then by the morning, you'll have your graphic design, because the team is international. So this team, if you guys like my slides, I've got all my slides developed through Design Pickle, because I'm terrible at designing. So definitely check them out if you want to automate your graphic design. Also, Adobe has a company called Adobe Spark that makes graphic design super easy. So if you're not good at, Photoshop or Illustrator, they've got a lot of cool templates that you can use. Also, there's Canva. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Canva. Free software where they have templates where you can literally just go in there and edit the different templates. You can just edit the text, replace photos for presentations, Facebook ads. I mean, they have anything and everything. Twitter graphics as well. And then there's a new thing. So if you or a new company, new tool, Adobe Photoshop Camera. So if you're terrible at doing photography, I highly recommend in like putting filters on there. Adobe Photoshop Camera has these like really cool filters that will make your photos and videos look really, really, really cool, and it's free. So definitely check that out. If you're looking to be inclusive on your website, there's a website called blackillustrations.com. A friend of mine launched this, John Saunders, where you can download these illustration packs of inclusive, diversity and inclusion photos. They also have free packs, and then they have paid packs as well, but they update this all the time. So if you're just like, you don't want to design and you don't want to use something like Design Pickle, you can just download these illustration packs as well. All right, so let's get into Twitter. Okay, so one of my favorite Twitter tools, I honestly don't even know how this tool is legal, but it is. It is this company that is partnered with Twitter. And so let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for investors. And so what this tool will do is, you see how it says the word investor here, it will scrape every single Twitter account and show you every single investor that has the word investor in their bio. And you'll come back and you'll get a result like this. The tool is called Audience. It's one of the most powerful Twitter tools out there. I use this pretty much every single day. One of the cool things that you can do is, once you do a search inquiry, so let's say you're looking for all high school teachers because you have a product that's like perfect for high school teachers. So if you see down at the bottom, the result is 7,500 high school teachers that have the keyword high school teacher in their bio on Twitter. You can click 2 buttons over here to the side, and you can add them to your Twitter advertising audience, so you can advertise directly to them. One of the most powerful tools out there for Twitter. I love Twitter for this tool specifically. If a lot of you guys share tweets to Instagram, which I do all the time, there's an app called Twiger that lets you share these your tweets on Instagram with just a couple of clicks. So definitely check that out. Free app. Also, I'll give you the Twitter limits. I gave you Instagram limits. I'll give you the Twitter limits. You can send 2,400 tweets per day. I don't know why you would do that, but you can. And then you can have 400, you can follow 400 people a day, and you can unfollow 400 people a day, and you can send 1,000 direct messages. Now you're probably like, Cliff, that's a lot of work that I have to do. So there is a tool called Tweetful that will do it for you. So it will send followers messages and things like that automatically for you within the Twitter daily limits. So check that out. All right, let's roll over to LinkedIn. All right, so LinkedIn, they have daily limits as well. And so you can connect with 250 people per day. You can send 80 messages per day. Once again, who has the time to do that? So there is a software called Phantom Buster where you can automate these within the daily limits as well. And so that basically means is that you can get potentially 250 leads every single day. So one of my favorite softwares probably throughout this presentation has helped me connect and meet a lot of different people. If you're looking at really just doing content on LinkedIn or figuring out how your content is performing, there is an app called Shield where you can get good LinkedIn analytic data from there to show you, your engagement rates on posts, who's liking, who's commenting. It's a really cool software. I think that's probably like $10 a month. Also, I don't know if you guys have saw LinkedIn recently, but LinkedIn recently rebranded, and it kind of looks like Facebook a little bit, but I love it. They've done a full rebrand. So if you're planning on using LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is going in the right direction. Going to be super powerful, if not already. And then they also just launched LinkedIn Stories. So remember how I said you always want to jump on features before everybody else does. So LinkedIn just launched LinkedIn Stories. I'm going to be using this a lot. It's very similar to, Instagram, Facebook Stories. They're kind of in their early stages, but if you get in early, more people will see your stories. All right, let's get into Facebook. Okay, so if you're running Facebook ads, this is the best tool to use. So it's called Ad Espresso. They got bought by Hootsuite a couple years ago. But what they do is, let's say you're running Facebook ads and you have like 4 photos and you just don't know which photo to use. What you can do is you can upload those photos to Ad Espresso, and then they'll run Facebook ads to each of those photos, and then it'll come back and tell you which photo is performing well. You can then shut off all the other 3 photos and then just run the rest of your budget to that photo. Super powerful. They do the same thing for Instagram, and they do the same thing for Google AdWords. It just makes running ads super easy. You can also test like headlines. You can test copy as well and call to action buttons to really figure out which ad works the best. Also, there is a new software that just came out last month called MarPipe that does a similar thing, except for you can actually do your graphic designs within the app. So it's kind of like a full suite solution where you can still test, your ad creatives, your headlines, your copy, and things like that. The cool thing about this is you can test different audiences as well. So you can say, I'm going to test this ad with my website audience, and then I'm going to test this ad with a different custom audience that you might have uploaded to Facebook. So super powerful tool. The cool thing is like you can click one button, it'll create 160 variations of your Facebook ad and then tell you which variation works the best. So definitely check that one out. Okay, the other thing that launched probably this summer was Facebook now has the ability to have e-commerce on your Facebook page and also in your Instagram page as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. You can now sell products very simply through Facebook. The other thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Facebook launched a Super Bowl ad to promote Facebook groups. So I know a lot of people say, well, I never get really good engagement on my Facebook page. One way around that is to create a Facebook group, invite your customers to your Facebook group. So that way, when you post, you have a better chance of being seen. So definitely dive into Facebook. If Facebook's putting money behind it, I'm always taking that as a signal that it might be something good to invest in for the future. Okay, let's get into email marketing. Okay, so there are a lot of email marketing tools. If you're just starting off, a lot of people use MailChimp. I recommend it. I use it for a lot of different things. If you're trying to get to the next level with like some type of automation, I would use ActiveCampaign or Keep if you're a small business. ConvertKit is good as well. I put Pipedrive on here if you're kind of like a B2B and you don't have a whole bunch of customers, but 2 or 3 customers could really change your business. Pipedrive is a really good software to kind of track those leads throughout the different stages. My favorite email marketing tool right now is called Autopilot HQ. It is a marketing automation tool powerhouse. It's kind of one of those things where if you want to send, an email out to everybody that opened a certain email, or you want to send out a separate email to people who clicked or replied to your email, you can do all of this very simply with Autopilot HQ. Okay, another cool tool is called Good Email Copy. If you're just stuck on you just don't know what to write or how to design your emails, you can go to this website for free, and they have basically all the emails from all the top companies. So you can go click a button and see Airbnb's email welcome sequence. And you can see different thank you messages or, new feature things. So definitely check this out. If you're just getting stuck on, I just don't know how to design my email or what copy to use, because you can just look and see what other people are doing. All right, there is a new form of marketing out there, in which is SMS marketing, right? SMS marketing right now is performing very, very well. I'm sure you guys are getting lots of text messages because it's political season and election season. But Attentive Mobile is one of the top SMS marketing companies. SMS marketing is showing pretty much 18% of driving online revenue for some of their clients. It is just a marketing powerhouse. If you have an e-commerce brand, I highly recommend it. They work with a lot of the top e-commerce brands. But yes, if you want to get into a new form of marketing, I highly, highly, highly recommend SMS marketing. All right, let's get into some of my favorite website tools. All right, so first one is Hotjar. This one is kind of one of the most used tools that I recommend to everybody. And it's basically what it does is it records every user session that comes to your website. So people always ask me and they say, hey, Cliff, what do you think about my website? And so my response is, well, why don't you look and see what your users are doing on your website so you can kind of tell me what's going on? Because you never really know how good your website is until you send your typical customer or your ideal customer to your website. So what happens is you install a line of code on your website, and it'll start tracking every single user session that comes to your website. It'll literally show you the mouse clicks. It'll give you a heat map to show you what people are clicking on. And I remember one time I had a project I was working on. I built this website. I thought everything was great. And everybody was scrolling down to the bottom, but they weren't buying. So I looked at the Hotjar videos and I said, well, let me try to change the buy now button to purchase now. And then I changed the color on it as well. And then as soon as I did that, people started buying. So you're able to kind of see what's actually going on. Free user tip. The software is free for your first 100 sessions. So once 100 people come to your website, you'll get 100 videos. Secret, don't tell anybody, but you can delete those 100 videos and then get 100 more people and keep doing that, and you'll never have to pay for the software. So just free tip. Another software called Built With. You can drop your competitor's website, or let's say you're on the web and you're like, wow, I really like how this website looks and how it's built. You can drop this website in there and it'll show you all the technologies that they're using on the website. So it'll show you whether they're using MailChimp or whether they're using WordPress or Squarespace. It'll show you everything that a website is built with. Free tool, definitely check this out. Facebook Pixel. Okay, so when you're on a website, you don't buy something, and then you go on Facebook or you go on Instagram, and then all of a sudden that product pops up in your face. That is because that website is using the Facebook Pixel. What that allows you to do is retarget people who come to your website. It is a snippet of code that you just drop onto your website. And what happens is if you have a Facebook account and you come to that website, the business can basically track your account and then run ads basically to anybody that's developed or anybody that's visited that page. It's one of the most powerful tools out there that a lot of businesses use. And I highly recommend that you do it. It's very easy to set up. The cool thing about it is that once you set it up, it'll start tracking everybody that comes to your website, and you can run ads to those people later. There's also a website called Proof. I love this one. This one's kind of it creates FOMO. So what happens is if somebody comes to your site, a pop-up will pop up and say, hey, Jenny just bought this product 2 hours ago, or Dave in Mississippi just bought this product. And so you can program this onto your website and kind of create that FOMO and social proof. Also, there is Social Blade. So Social Blade is a platform, another free platform where you can kind of spy on your competitors and figure out how they're doing with their social media accounts. So you can type in any, Twitter or Instagram account, and you can see how many times a day they're posting. You can see how many followers they're either getting or losing per day. And that way you can kind of get a sense on, like, because a lot of people ask me, well, how many times a day should I be posting on social media? Or how many, how many times a week should I post? Well, you can go on there, you can type your competitors, information in there, and you can see exactly what they're doing and what they're posting. So that way you can kind of get a sense on the strategy that they're using. Okay, lead forensics. One of my favorite new tools, lead forensics. Okay, so basically when you think about website traffic, 98% of the people that come to your website, you don't know who they are because only 2% of people buy or 2% of people will actually fill out your form. So what Lead Forensic does is they have this database of like 1 billion business IPs. And so when a business comes to your website, this is really a really B2B tool. And so when a business comes to your website, it will actually show you that, hey, someone from Lands End is looking at your website, or somebody from Google is looking at your website. It'll show you how many page views they looked at. It'll tell you how much duration it is. And the cool thing about it is, like, if you've got a big, if you're trying to land a big client, and you might be running ads to the website, but you just don't know who's coming. People are clicking the ad, but you don't know who's coming. You turn on Lead Forensics. Once again, it's very similar to Hotjar, where you just install a line of code on your website, and then boom, you're up and running. And so what happens is like, let's say you're trying to figure out at what point should you reach out to a potential client. Well, like if Google has visited your website in the last 3 days, now might be the time to reach out to them. So you might have somebody from your team reach out to them. It's a really good B2B tool. I've also secured a 20% off discount for anybody on this call. You just have to email this email address below, and it'll be on the tools guide that I send you at the very end as well. All right, TikTok. All right, so I know a lot of people are not on TikTok, but I know a lot of people think that like TikTok is for kids, but TikTok is not. There are, I would say that TikTok right now is like positioning to be that next Instagram. As you can see, there's this whole big hoopla around who is going to buy TikTok. But TikTok, as you can see, was the #1 most downloaded app, except for this year, except for Zoom, because we all went on lockdown in April. But it's one of those things where now's the time to get in before everybody else does, because it has shown that there's just a lot of people that are now consuming, TikTok versus kind of like an Instagram and Facebook. I've played around with it over the past couple months. Yes, there is the kids and the dancing section, but there's also this section around, just really DIY, educating people about different topics. It's a lot of just value that's just given every single day. So somebody might show you, hey, here's how to use iOS 14, or here's an iPhone trick that you never knew about. There's a lot of value. And so if you have a valuable product, you can say, hey, this is an upcoming product that you need to know about. The other thing about TikTok right now is they just launched their ad platform. So think about this is like, think about if you were able to get into Facebook ads day one. This is kind of like the time right now where TikTok is just starting out. They just launched their ad platform, I think probably maybe last month or 2 months ago. So now's a really, really, really good time to take advantage of TikTok. If I was starting a business and I was trying to choose in between, Facebook and TikTok, I probably would choose TikTok just because of the momentum that it has. And then if I was choosing in between Instagram and TikTok, I would probably do both. And I would put as much effort into both of them because they're just different audiences. And like I said, that stat I showed you was this is the most downloaded app in the world. So everybody is using TikTok, and that number is only going to grow. All right, we have gotten to the end. Here is a list of the tools. If we can drop the list in the tools, I see everybody's been asking about, can we get the list of the tools? So if we can drop the list of the tools into the chat, and then we can move on to Q&A. I'm glad that I finished with 4 minutes left.
Thanks so much, Cliff. You rocked it. Great timing, and there's a lot of great questions that came in.
Okay.
The crowd. This one's real interesting from Sudi, and sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, hopefully Sudi. What or how is the best way to identify and engage with social media influencers in a given field? I know influencers is a big thing right now.
Yeah, so I would say there's three ways to do it. First is you could actually go to their account and try to message them, right? Social media influencers are used to getting these kind of DMs. The other thing is a lot of these influencers, if you look in their bio, they'll actually have a business email. So I would send them an email specifically. Three is there are social media influencer agencies. A lot of them are based in LA, but there are a lot of agencies that have contracts with these social media influencers. So you basically go to them, you'll tell them what budget you have to work with. They'll then go back and work with their influencers and figure out who's the best person. And they'll even work on the campaign with them. So literally you just don't even have to do anything. So those would be the three ways that I would look at engaging with influencers.
Amazing. Another good question. Are these apps available on desktop?
Yes. So I think all of them are all web-based. So you just go to a website, type in your information, and they all kind of run in the cloud.
Amazing. Another one that comes up a lot is there a best practice to contract a marketer or marketing agency?
Yes, that is the $1 million question that I get all the time. Okay, so I would say it depends. Once again, I know you're not going to like that, but I think the thing that you have to be careful with is that every marketer is going to say that they can do everything for you. And as you can see, there are a lot of different things that you can focus on. You can focus on email, you can focus on different social media channels. So if you are going to hire someone, I would just make sure that you know what is most important for your business to grow. So if you really think that email is working really well, but you just don't have the time to get to it, then I would find a marketer that has email marketing experience. I would not look at a marketer that has, I can run your social media channels and that's good. It's like you're really, really, truly looking for email, because email marketing has a different set of skills that you need. It's like you have to have somebody who's a really good, strong writer, right? And that writer has to be able to, convince people, motivate people to click your things. And the other part of it is design. Your emails have to look good. And it's hard delivering an email to an inbox. And so there's science around, how do you get an email delivered to the inbox versus you being in the promotions tab in Gmail. So you just really want to make sure that you know what type of marketer you need, because you can easily lose your money quickly when you choose the wrong person.
Totally. It is the $1 million question for sure. And I believe you addressed this at the beginning of your presentation, but I think it's good to re-highlight. Will a lot of these analytics tools go away after third-party cookies go away?
Yes. Yeah. I just saw an article about that where I think Google is Xing out the Facebook pixel. And I think it's in like 2 years. So like I said, you want to move as fast as you can on a lot of this stuff. Facebook, even with the election hacking stuff that's going on, they're dialing back a lot of different things. And just, over the last couple months, ads have just gotten a lot more expensive. So there may be a day where we can't run ads on platforms, I think about it and I'm like, you got to move fast, because you're going to think back like, oh, wow, you're going to see all these people who made millions of dollars and you could have. And so I definitely think that there is a possibility of basically us not being able to retarget people online.
Totally. Super helpful. So yeah, Wild West for now, but
yep.
A limited time. Will lead forensics work when people are accessing your website from home?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually was talking to them about that yesterday. So with this new shift where everybody's working remotely, it is going to be harder to tell. because they only have business IPs. But I do think there probably are companies out there that have some home IP stuff, but I haven't seen them yet, but I'm sure they're out there. I'll be on the lookout. But yes, it is going to be a little bit difficult as we work from home and companies, work from home. But if you time it right, maybe by this time next year, who knows, we might actually be all back into the office, and lead forensics will work really well.
Yeah, awesome. And I think if somebody's dialing in from a VPN, it would maybe show.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, question from an anonymous attendee about TikTok.
Yes.
Does it work for B2B?
I would say no. You'd be lucky. I wouldn't think it does. Kind of similar to like Snapchat. It's like that audience is a younger demographic. I mean, if you're doing B2B, I would be on LinkedIn for sure, 100%. There is a company, it's called, the website is sayprimer.com, that what they do is they take LinkedIn data and they basically turn it into Facebook ads. So people that you would usually be able to target on LinkedIn advertising, you can now target on Facebook. So that way you can get some B2B marketing done on Facebook, but TikTok might get to that point. I just think we're in the early stages of that. So yeah, I probably wouldn't focus on that. I'd focus on LinkedIn hands down for B2B.
Awesome. Question about the measurement piece here. What do you think about using a cross-platform posting and monitoring tool like Hootsuite versus one that's very specific to each single platform?
Got it. Yeah. It's funny, like the thing about measuring analytics is that like all these analytics tools, they just don't have everything that you want. And I'll be completely transparent. Like I use like probably 5 to 10 tools just to get the right data that I want out of Twitter. So number one, I use like the Twitter analytics, and I use that to get, like an overall kind of aspect of how my Twitter account is performing. So like, what was my top tweet, so I can figure out which content is working well. There's another tool called Union Metrics, and that one you can actually track hashtag data. So if I'm running like a hashtag campaign, it'll show me everybody, all the influencers that interacted with my campaign over time. And then I use Audience as well, because what Audience does, it monitors my Twitter account, and then it tells me every influencer that followed me that month. So then I can really figure out like who's actually following me. And I'm trying to think of other tools. Also, like if you have multiple accounts, like Hootsuite is good, because if you're managing like 3 different Twitter accounts and you want to kind of get like, analytics on all of them at once, Hootsuite will aggregate all that data. Even Sprout Social has some Twitter tools that are pretty cool. So, you kind of got to figure out what data that you're actually looking for. And if you're an entrepreneur right now, you might want to look at building that analytics tool for social media right now, because it literally does not exist. So, you kind of have to just hack a bunch of stuff together to get what you want.
Awesome. Yeah, you hear that, guys. If you're not building it already, you got an idea from Cliff.
Exactly.
Question from Ida. Do you think small businesses can do all of this without professional help?
Yes, I do. I think it really comes down to learning what's going to be the most effective action for your business, right? It's like, I gave you guys the kitchen sink, but really, email marketing might be really good for your business, or, it might be just like focusing on one social media channel, getting a couple graphic design tools and running some ads might be the formula for you. So like, I think every business has a different formula. I think the key is trying to figure it out. Where you kind of use like agencies, I think it's like a good point where like to try to get you on a good path, one thing I used to do in my early days is I would hire a Facebook advertising agency to show me like how to run Facebook ads. And it's, you know, I'd pay them for 3 months. And as soon as we figured out what was the best ad to run, I would just fire them and then run the ads myself. So you can kind of use kind of different strategies. But yeah, like I know a lot of entrepreneurs who've done all this on their own, and, you know, as their business grows, you know, they're starting off doing all of the email marketing, and then, you know, they grow and then they hire, you know, a marketer that runs the Facebook ad and does the email marketing. So you kind of just, you kind of have to do everything all at once. But yeah, if you have the budget, I would hire an agency in the beginning just to kind of get you started. But you have to know exactly that money is going to bring ROI back to your business. And I think a lot of just like another tool or tip is like, you know, you always want, like, I would spend more time focusing on my customer to make sure that my customer actually wants to buy the product that I'm producing, than marketing something that you don't know if people want. And that's literally just like calling somebody on the phone and saying, what do you think about my website? Would you buy? What would you change? And listening to them and making those changes.
Awesome. Super helpful. Here's a good one that was submitted before the event. Any advice on video usage? Best practices there?
Yeah.
Everything that crosses my screen is moving these days.
Yes. So I would highly recommend, the thing about video is that it's a little bit expensive and it's a little bit time consuming to produce. But if I were going to do social media all over, if I was starting today, I would do 100% video. Reason why is social media platforms have kind of built in their algorithms to reward video over a static post. There are video platforms out there that just make it a little bit easier. I'm slipping the name, but one is called Wave Video, which is like a social media tool that allows you to create videos, and they have like templates already there, so it's not like super hard. You just drop in your video. Also, the other thing I'd recommend is that, like, your video doesn't need to be professionally produced. If you want to grab your iPhone and just do a face-to-camera video and then run an ad to that, that's a great ad. Especially because it shows up in people's feeds where it doesn't actually look like an ad. So you might actually have somebody stop and to look at your post. But the quality of these, you know, iPhones and Androids right now, this video quality is great. I know the new iPhone launched today, so I'm sure they've got 27 megapixel camera on there now. So it'll be high quality.
Super helpful. And yet I can still not make a selfie video without feeling weird, but good thing I don't need to sell myself. A good question here on, I think, using LinkedIn. So they're asking about, they pre-submitted this question. Okay. Question on how to grow your mailing list using LinkedIn without feeling silly.
Yep. So mailing list. So one is once you connect with somebody, you get access to their email address. So if you go onto your LinkedIn account and you look at somebody who's actually connected to you, if you go to contact info, it has the email address that's listed there. And there's also a feature in the settings where you can download all of your LinkedIn data that comes with the first name, last name, and then email address of all the people that are connected to your profile. That's the like gray way. The other way would be is to ask people, right? So as soon as people connect with you, you'd say, hey, I'd love for you to join my email list, or you're creating a post where you can say, hey, click this link to join my email list. It's probably like the best way to do that. But yeah, yeah. Or you can run LinkedIn ads. You know, if you have the budget, LinkedIn ads are just super expensive, but you can run LinkedIn ads to certain people and say, hey, join my email list, click this link, and then fill that out there.
Super helpful. And good tip. I've never heard of that one. That's awesome. What are the best tools in your perspective for B2B to get leads and potential sales?
B2B and potential sales. Yeah. I think lead forensics is great. Like I said, it's one of those ones where, like, if you do end up running ads, you at least can see who is coming to your website. LinkedIn, I'm not even going to say LinkedIn ads. I think LinkedIn is great for B2B because you can connect with the people that you want to connect with at companies. And I always say, like, a strategy is, just connect with people. Don't really ask them for anything in the actual connection. So, like, let's say you have a cryptocurrency business and you find this company that's in crypto and you're like, I want to, I want to connect with this guy. I really need to talk to him. Like, I want to tell him about my product. What I would do is I would go on LinkedIn. I would send him a connection request and say, hey, I see you're in crypto. I'm in crypto too. Would love to connect, and leave it at that. And what'll happen is hopefully they'll connect with you. And then if they do, now you have access to their LinkedIn inbox. And so now you can send them a message with your ask, right? Versus running ads on LinkedIn. I just think LinkedIn ads work. They're just super expensive. So if you've got the budget, the cool thing about LinkedIn ads is, like, you can go on there, you can say, I want to find people with, the chief development officer at companies in Nebraska that have under 500 employees. And then it will serve ads to those people. And so if you're B2B, sometimes you're just looking for that one whale to spend a whole bunch of money with you. So it might be worth it because you don't need that many leads, right? You just need one or two people. The other thing, the last tip I'll give you on LinkedIn is, if you're going to run ads, the best ads to run are the ones that are the sponsored posts that show up in the news feed. Those ones get the best engagement, other than, ones that are on the side or kind of doing email messaging. And I see somebody asked about, how do you get the contact information of LinkedIn connections? So if you go to settings, I can't remember the actual part, but it's somewhere in your settings, and it's like basically download your data. And then you can go in there, and then, it might take a couple hours, and depending on how many connections you have, and then it'll download that list. So that way, and you can use Email Hunter. There's a lot of different email platforms out there as well that can just draw that information out. Phantom Buster, you can do it as well.
Awesome. Oh, we almost got to all the questions, but we are almost at time. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And more importantly, thank you, Cliff, for sharing your tips, tactics. I know this is a lot, so we will follow up with a link to the resources that Cliff mentioned, and in addition to the recording to this event. We have some really cool events coming up in the next week or so. So this Thursday, we've got Power the Fourth Quarter. So learn how to close the end of the year on a strong note with Meredith Elliott Powell this Thursday at 10 a.m. And then next Tuesday, we've got a little bit of branding stuff on how to build a brand people love with Emily Hayward. So hope you guys can join those. There's a link in the chat or in the message box for you guys to check out the events that we have on the horizon. Also would appreciate you guys taking the survey to share some feedback on this, and then share a little bit more about what you're looking to learn as you continue to try to grow your business. We're here for you, and we want to hear what sort of things that we could be helping you with your business. On behalf of everybody here at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center and myself, thank you so much, Cliff, for joining us, and thank you all for taking the time to learn to grow your business using social media marketing today. So have a good one, and we'll see you next time.